So finishing up Lesson 8.1, recognizing statistical questions. We'll look at example 3. Dante surveyed students to see how they feel about a proposal to choose a new school mascot. The frequency table shows the results. What question did Dante likely ask? And is this a statistical question? So the question most likely would be, do you want a new mascot? There are two answers, yes or no. There's more than one possible answer, so that would be a statistical question. So on the try it, how could he change his statistical question so there would be more than two possible answers? Rather than just saying, do you want a new mascot, he could ask what mascot you want. And obviously there would be more than two options for that. So we look at our key concept. Once again, is just if there's more than one answer, it's statistical. If there's only one answer, it's not statistical. So some examples: how many nickels are in a dollar? Not statistical. There's only one answer. It would be 20. Which former U.S. president appears on a nickel? Not statistical. Again, only one answer. And how many nickels are in your backpack? That could be statistical, although probably 0 would be the answer for most people. Anyway, if we look at the do you know how, they're asking us to determine which of these questions below are statistical questions. So the first question, in which months are the birthdays of everyone in your class, would be statistical because they're most likely would be more than one answer. Not everybody's probably born in the same month in here. B. On B, this would likely be not statistical. It's possible that sometimes she wears glasses and sometimes she doesn't. So maybe a better question would be, does Sue have glasses? Which definitely would be not statistical. Okay? C would be not statistical. Good. Only one answer. I'm just going to abbreviate here to go a little bit quicker. Not statistical. D, how tall are the students in grade 6 would be statistical. Good. What is the least populated state? Okay, yeah, so possibly if there were two states that had the identical least population, but not real likely, so we're going to say not statistical for that one. And how many fish are in the pond? Not statistical. Good. We've got only one option. If we're talking about a certain pond, there's only one number of fish in the pond. Okay, number 6. Mr. Borden asks his students, how far from school do you live? Is this question a statistical question? Yes. More than one answer, so that would be statistical. Okay, and again, for explaining, we could say, just say there is more than one answer. And similar idea on number 7. How do you get to school each day? Would that be statistical? Yes. Okay. Again, same thing here. We could just say, again, there's more than one answer. We could, a car or a bus, a bike. We could walk to school. Those would be probably the most likely answers. So look at workbook page 109. First question, how long does it take 6th grade students to eat lunch? Most likely, even though you have the same amount of time available for being in the cafeteria maybe, people might take longer or not as long, so that would be statistical, more than one answer. Number 2, When does Carver Elementary School summer break begin? This should be not statistical because the summer break's going to begin for everyone at the same time. Okay? Yeah, potentially people could be summer school, but we're going to just say generally not statistical there. Okay? If we look at number 3, write a statistical question you might ask to gather data on the cost of a restaurant meal. So we could just ask something like, how much did you pay for dinner? How much did your meal at the restaurant cost? Doesn't have to be anything fancy there for that question. Okay? Let's look now at number 5. So number 5, Tiana asked her classmates, will you take chorus or music appreciation next semester? She collected these responses. 11 classmates chose chorus and 17 chose music appreciation. Make a frequency table to display these data. So frequency table, first of all, we need to make sure we have a title. Our frequency table should be able to stand by itself. In other words, people should be able to just look at our frequency table without looking at anything else, and they should know exactly what we're talking about. So for this, I just did a title, Students Class Choices. Students, so students and then the apostrophe because it's more than one student that's making the class choice here. And then generally for a frequency table, we have a first column is telling what the people are picking in this case. Then we have a tally column and we have a frequency column. So the class options were chorus and music appreciation. How many chose chorus? 11. So chorus, and we'll do 11 tally marks and frequency of 11, and then music appreciation is 17. So 17 tally marks, frequency is 17. And number 6, Dean asked his classmates, how many apples did you eat last week? Here were the responses. Make a dot plot to display the data. So again, with the dot plot, we should put a title so somebody can just look at this dot plot and tell exactly what's happening. So you'd say apples students ate last week. And then we're going to do a number line. What's the fewest number of apples that anybody ate? What's the most that anybody ate? Okay, so we could go from 0 to 7. And then what we do is every time we see a number, we put a dot above it. So you start out, you got a 7, a 5, a 5, a 5, a 7, a 3, a 2, a 1, a 0, and so on. Every time you see a number, just put a dot above it. And then when you get that all together, this is what it should look like. Okay, and then underneath this, we should have also something underneath the number line telling what these numbers represent. Our title is going to give us a big hint there, but maybe if we say apples eaten or apples eaten last week, maybe would be a little bit better. Apples eaten last week. And then it's telling exactly what's happening here. And if we look at number 8, why is the following a statistical question? In which months were the students in the class born? 7, sorry. So it's statistical because more than one answer. Good. Like we talked about earlier. More than one answer, so it is statistical. Look at number 9. What statistical question might Tess have asked her classmates to gather the data displayed in the bar graph? So we look at the title, we look at the answers that they gave, and looks like then our question would have to be something like, what color are your eyes? And if we look at number 11, could Tessa represent these data using a dot plot? The answer would be no. On a dot plot, it uses numbers. It's got a number line, and so we'd have to have number answers for us to have a dot plot. And then going back to number 10, talks about people, if you have two different colored eyes, then they just mentioned you could increase each bar by 1/2, because you've got half of the person's eye is one color and half is the other color, I guess. Okay, and then if we look at number 12, Charles asked each member of the basketball team these two questions. How many inches tall are you? How many points were scored in the last game? Which of the questions is a statistical question? Would be how many inches tall are you, because it's more than one answer. And then part B, again, just to show you, that would be a dot plot that we could make for the data there. Again, make sure you have a title above your dot plot, and make sure you label underneath so that everybody knows what those numbers stand for.